Hello and welcome to the Capital OTB Stakes Preview for the weekend of May 18th and May 19th. It's Preakness Week. Sully Crotty and Mike Callahan here. How are you, Mike?
What's going on, Sully? Another big weekend's coming up as you're going to be down for the Preakness.
Yeah.
We'll go over predominantly, every race is going to be at Pimlico. Not a shock to anybody as we're going to have stakes races galore. Hopefully they'll be on the turf. Yeah, that's big for horse racing fan is, turf racing. So hopefully the weather stays okay. I mean, at this point, the damage kind of already seems to be done. We were looking at the track today. Looks to be really soggy at this point, but there does look to be some partial clearing on Saturday. So at least if the track is sloppy, the skies won't be pouring, and we can get the race underway with some clear skies. So
hopefully that happens. There's a lot of good turf action, so hopefully it stays off, stays clear, and we're staying on the turf. So we have 2 races for Friday and then 3 for Saturday. The first race on Friday we'll do is race number 9 at Pimlico. It is the Pimlico Special, a Grade 3 event, 1 mile and 3/16 on the main track. And then race number 11 is the Black Eyed Susan, 1 mile and 1/8. This is a Grade 2 event. Obviously, this race is on the main track. And then Saturday afternoon, we'll start out with race number 7. One of those races we hope stays on the turf. 1 mile and 1/16 on the grass. This is the Dixie, a Grade 2 event. A very, very nice field in the Dixie. And then we'll go to race number 12. Race number 12 is the Sir Barton. It is 1 mile and 1/16 on the main track. In race 13, it is the Preakness Stakes Grade 1 event, 1 mile and 3/16 on the main track.
But we'll take a look at Friday's card now. We'll take a look at the first of 2 races. And this race is for older horses. It's the Grade 3 Pimlico Special. As Sully said, it's 1 mile and 3/16. There's a lot of notable names. Starting out with number 1, Irish War Cry, going out for Grand Motion. Jose Ortiz, 3-1 on the morning line. This horse is the epitome of hot and cold. Has run a couple, numerous 100-plus buyers, and then hasn't been able to repeat off those races. Notably, the horse was on the Triple Crown trail last year, finished second in the Belmont. I thought that was a very good performance, but then really hasn't been able to put together back-to-back performances. Of recent, really put in a dud last time out, finishing 6th, beating over 20 lengths. But if you go back to the 2-back race, ran a pretty decent second to Economic Model, who went over to Dubai next time out. That was a 100-plus buyer. I really don't know what to do with this horse. Like I said, hot and cold. I didn't have in my mix, but at 3-1, obviously a likely contender in here.
Yeah, definitely a likely contender. I'm with you. I don't have the horse in my mix. I don't know what to do with the horse. Based off what we're seeing, a really nice 100 buyer, and then tails off, then a 100 buyer. Tailed off last time, so maybe a 100 buyer is coming up again, but I think it's all weather permitting with this horse. I like Jose Ortiz in the irons. Rashid Murad did a great job in the irons. And I think this is a good spot to pick for the connections to Irish War Cry, but I'm with you. I didn't know what to do. Too little of a price for me to take. Too hot and cold for a horse to be 3-1 for me to take anywhere in my top 3.
On the number 2 one-liner going on for Todd Pletcher, 7-2 on the morning line. Luis Sai is going to be aboard. This was one of Todd's really good 2-year-olds last year, with the crop of Always Streaming and a bunch of others that he had in his stable. Then the horse got sidelined after that Grade 3 Southwest victory. Wasn't seen for almost a year. Reappeared this year down at Gulfstream Park against a couple good horses in Conquest, Windy City, and also Mind Your Biscuits, who went on to win next time out in Dubai. Only finished a couple lengths off of Mind Your Biscuits that day. I thought that was a good performance. Last time out, I watched the race in that 3 other than optional claimer. Really looked like he was backing up around the far turn, but then was able to kind of plot home, kick clear, win that race by 1.25. Stretching out to 1 mile and 3/16 is definitely a question mark, especially being out of Into Mischief. But the fact is, the horse is 4 for 5, 7-2 seems pretty fair with this horse.
Definitely a fair price for the horse. I had the horse underneath, and I just think with Windstar and China Club, you're going to have to use the horse. They're winning everything at every big card. No matter what the stakes is, grade 1, 2, or 3, non-graded stakes, they're winning a lot. So definitely a horse to use. I like the connections. Luis Sai is probably riding the best in his career. He's been riding well in New York as well after Gulfstream ended. So definitely a lot to like with this horse, and you're getting a really nice price. And as you said, this horse is racing against some really solid horses. You already said Mind Your Biscuits, and Petron's a nice horse, and beating Looking at Lee as well, who's a very solid horse at Oaklawn Park. So that was 3 races back. Definitely a solid horse at an okay price on the morning line at 7-2.
Number 3 is Rated R Superstar Ken McPeak, Javier Castellano, 8-1 on the morning line. This horse put it all together last time out in the Ben Ali, a Grade 3 event at Keeneland. Was able to close with a huge closing kick, get up to win that race, going clear by 2 lengths. Got a nice 93 buyer. Comparing it to the field, isn't amongst the top in here, but again, if you're looking for a horse that's kind of rounding into form, Rated R Superstar is definitely a horse to use, especially at an appealing 8-1 price.
Yeah, I think this is a really nice horse here, and I loved the horse last time, and you got a great price. At Keeneland, you're getting a great price here as well. I think this horse fits in nicely, especially with the closing kick. And Javier and Kenny McPeak, they're always good together. Also, 2-back, I thought that was a really nice effort. I know this horse can close into anything. I don't think the distance is going to be a question at all. But that optional claiming race after the Razorback, that was a really nice performance there. So the one question may be the surface, if it is wet. Did not run terrible in an optional claimer in the slot, but in the Razorback, that track was not good at all, and the horse really didn't show up there. So I think it's a serious contender here at 8-1. I like everything about this horse, and you're getting a great price. One of those horses that really doesn't get respected in the odds board.
Number 4 is a long shot. That's Discreet Lover, 20-1 on the morning line. A winner 2-back as an upset winner in the Grade 3 Excelsior down at Aqueducts. Tried the Charlestown Classic last time, that Grade 2 event against Something Awesome, who was the winner that day, is also in this race. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. But didn't do much running that day. Finished 6th, did save ground, but really didn't show much in that race. I'm not sure that the mile and 3/16 is going to be that big of a question mark. It's the fact that this horse has raced over wet surface 6 times and hasn't been able to get the job done.
Yeah, that's the one question mark that I had with this horse. And I think there's better in this race. I think Something Awesome is a serious player in this race as well. You're getting a great price with Something Awesome, and we'll talk about that horse later. But to me, I think just a little too, just a little underneath here. I'd rather go other ways with this horse. And the 0-for-6 on the slot really does stand out.
On to number 5, Hedge Fund, another Todd Pletcher trainee. 7-2 on the morning line. Mike Smith's going to be aboard. And this was another horse back in 2017 that was really making some noise in that division. Was able to finish only second, only beaten ahead to Multiplier in the Grade 3 Illinois Derby. Then went on to run in the last race of 2017 for this horse in May, finishing 4th, only beaten 3 lengths. Reappeared in 2018 off of a long layoff as well, kind of the same overall body of work like one-liner in here, and really put it together really solid performances, including that 2-back race where it got a 103 buyer, went clear by 2 3/4 to beat Untrapped, Blue Ridge Travel, and a couple others in that race. I thought that was a really solid performance. Last race, though, took a lot of money against City of Light in the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap. Didn't do much running at all. I'm going to throw that race out. I just thought that was a complete no-show that day. This horse is able to rebound, is going to be a pace presence in here, and maybe able to get the mile 3/16.
Yeah, I think the horse definitely can get the mile 3/16, and I'm with you on throwing out last time out in that Grade 2 event at Oaklawn Park. And it's the same connections, same trainer, Todd, China horse, and Windstar Farm. You get Mike Smith in the irons as well. Not many times you see those combinations, Windstar, Todd Pletcher, and Mike Smith at a 7-2 price, so definitely take advantage of that. I'm with you. I'm throwing out the last effort last time out. I think this horse is much better than what it showed last time out, and I think it reverts back to that two-back race where the horse really did look sensational.
Number 6, Papa Zulu, another long shot, 30-1 on the morning line. This horse was a winner last time in a 2 other than optional claimer down at Parks, but just looking at the overall body of work for this horse, seriously looks to be outclassed in here. Did have that nice win last time out, has been in the money 10 of the 17 times, but is really getting a serious acid test against some really nice horses, and that's where you're getting 31 price.
Yeah, the horse is really stepping up for the first time in a stakes race since a Gulfstream race where the horse went off 80-1, finished 4th that day, but since then really has put together some nice races at Parks. I agree. I think it's just a touch below here. Actually just needs to improve everything, needs a lot to go right for this horse to even hit the board. I had to go a different direction. Again, I think think there's better in the race, and also I think with other horses stepping up, this horse is going against some solid names and some solid trainers. Just had to go a different direction.
Number 7, a Fleet Willie, 10-1 on the morning line. And this horse is quite interesting if you're a long shot player. Last time out, did race in that Grade 2 Charlestown Classic that we talked about a little bit earlier on. Finished fourth, only beating a length and a half to Something Awesome. I thought that was a decent performance. Got a nice 98 buyer that day. And if you're looking for a horse that really loves to win, this horse has run 28 times lifetime. 12 of them have been victories, and 19 of them have been first or second. I know this horse is a little bit outclassed in here, but not too much. Not like the 6 that we just talked about, Papa Zulu. If this horse is able to sit the right trip, sit just off of hedge fund in here, I don't see why this horse couldn't make some noise.
Yeah, I have the horse right in. This is my long shot play in this race, and I think it's going to get bet down a little bit, 10-1, especially if the track is sloppy. This horse has 4 wins over the wet surface, and he's running the money every single time on the wet surface. But as you said, and this horse looked great last time out in the Charlestown Classic. Really not a bad effort at all. I don't think the distance is a question mark at all. This horse is going to have a really nice stalking roll and definitely can make some noise at a price on the morning line.
Number 8, Something Awesome, going out for Jose Corrales, and you're going to get Edgar Prado aboard. 5-1 on the morning line. Was the winner last time in that Grade 2 Charlestown Classic that we've talked about a bunch of times. And a nice 101 buyer. Is looking for 4 in a row, so a horse that's been really in good form. Does have 2 lifetime victories over 3 wet surface runs. I like that. I think this horse is coming in razor sharp. Should sit an ideal trip about, I would say, 3rd or 4th going into the first turn in here. And I think the question mark for this horse is probably the fact is this horse going to be able to stay the distance of a mile and 3/16. I don't believe that the extra 16 is going to be that big of a problem. Did just win at a mile and an eighth, but nonetheless at 5-1 I think is quite appealing.
Yeah, definitely a great price here, and congratulations to Edgar Prado. Just won a 7,000 race earlier this week and joined some elite company there. But this horse, I think the stretch out is actually beneficial for this horse. This horse was coming late in the Charlestown Classic, was coming late 2 starts back, and was coming late 3 starts back in the slop in a sprint race. So I think the stretch out will help, especially if this horse runs like it did last time out. I think the closing kick is going to be a nice play here. And you have Edgar Prado, who runs well in Maryland and has been running well in Maryland since the start of 2018.
Number 9 is Untrapped, Steve Asmussen, Ricardo Santana Jr. 10-1 on the morning line. This horse is just a grinder. Been in the money 11 of 15 times, but only 2 victories. Last time out, did finish 3rd, albeit was a distant 3rd, beating 10 1/4, 2 City of Light and Accelerate, who were far away the 2 best horses that day at Oakland Park. 2 back, ran a nice 2nd to Hedge Fund, got a nice 99 buyer. To me, I don't consider a win candidate at all at the 10-1 price, but 11 for 15 in the money, a horse that's a grinder and does have some good backlash in here. Probably a horse to use in your exotics.
I take a horse to use in your exotics underneath, and a horse has some nice works, a nice bullet posted on May 6th at Churchill Downs, and I agree. I was easily 3rd best last time out, and 2 back, that was a really nice performance. If I had to pick a horse off the same running style, I would go a different direction from a stalking roll, like Something Awesome would do that, and also a Fleet Willie would probably do that as well. So I would go there. That's me personally, but definitely a horse that does not like to get past. Definitely a horse that grinds it to the finish line. Definitely a horse that you could use in your exotics at a really nice price.
All right, selection time here in the Grade 3 Pimlico Special.
I went rated R, Superstar on top. I went 3-8, 2-5. My long shot is the 7 in this race, a Fleet Willie, but I went rated R, Superstar on top. Just what we saw last time out against a really solid field at Keeneland. I think this horse is going to make some noise here. Second spot, Something Awesome. That's a really nice exact. I can get a 3-8 home, a combination 8-3 with Edgar Prado, who's riding extremely well and has 6 mounts, is running the money 4 times so far at Pimlico. So that's the direction I went. Rated R, Superstar on top, Something Awesome will run a big race as well. 3-8-2, and my long shot in this race is a Fleet Willie.
I went 8-5-3 in here. I like Something Awesome, a horse that's searching for 4 in a row. Really liked that performance last time out. I know the stretch out, you don't consider it too much of a concern, but the horse was sprinting predominantly, did stretch out the last 2 and was able to get it home. Grinding kind of last time out to beat and grind down War Story. I don't think the extra 16 should be a problem. Should sit a very nice trip, as there does seem to be a lot of speed in here with One Liner, Hedge Fund, and a bunch of others in here that look to go and be forwardly placed. Underneath the number 5 in here, Hedge Fund. I think the horse is just going to go out there and wing it with Mike Smith, and again, it's Money Mike. And in situations like these, this horse can revert back to that 2-back race. That 103 buyer was super impressive I think last time out, throw and toss that race out, should emerge as another contender in here as well at 7-2. And then your horse you have on top, number 3, Rated R Superstar, will also be my long shot play in here. 8-1 on the morning line. I'm not sure if we're going to get that. Last time out was so impressive in that Ben Ali was able to kick clear against a couple nice horses in there, including Chip Leader and Guest Suite. I think this horse, again, another setup where there's going to be a ton of pace. This horse is able to stretch out just a little bit farther to this mile and 3/16. Looks to be a player in here as well. So those are our selections in the Pimlico Special. We'll take a look at the Black Eyed Susan now. Grade 2 event, mile and 1/8 for 3-year-old fillies in here. Nice field of 10 horses, starting out with number 1, Tell Your Mama. Interested to see a mating in here. 0 for 10 so far, but has been in the money 5 times, including last time out in a maiden special weight at Keeneland. Finished second, only beaten a half length. If you're looking at buyers and you're a buyers person in here, that last race, you could say sort of fits in here. It's interesting, though, to see that Javier is going to be on this horse for Robert Hess, who claimed this horse. It's, to me, there's some interesting signals in here to say maybe a horse to use as far as the bottom end supers.
Yeah, I agree. I think this definitely is a horse to use underneath. And, you know, last time out, as you said, I think this really does need to repeat that performance to be competitive in here, because there are some really nice other horses in this field. But a nice maiden here. Luch seems to do that. He throws these maidens in. Sometimes they run huge in these spots at some big prices, and you get Javier Castellano aboard, which is definitely an attraction. So I didn't think ran terrible in the GP Oaks either, behind Coach Rocks and a really nice horse in Take Charge Paula, who won a couple stakes earlier this year. So definitely a horse, I think, to complete some superfectas, and you're going to get a really nice price.
Number 2, Midnight Disguise, Linda Rice, Rod Ortiz Jr., 4-1 on the morning line. Blinkers are going to go on for this horse. Last time we got to see her in person, she took a bunch of money that day in the Grade 2 Gazelle and didn't do much running at all. She's a stone cold closer. Looks to get some speed in here, as you're going to see Coach Rocks go. You're also going to see a good one, Honey, who looks to be the speed of speed kind of going. Sarah Street will probably stock her. There does seem to be some speed in here to kind of set up for the closing kick of Midnight Disguise in here. It's just, is she going to be able to revert back to those back-to-back victories, 2 and 3 back, we're going to see on Friday?
I think the blinkers going on is going to help this horse as well, and it did take a ton of money in the Gazelle. Lost to a really nice horse in My Miss Lily, as we know. But I definitely think needs to revert back to how this horse looked 2 and 3 back, even 4 back. I think the stretch out, third time running at this distance, does have a win here against a field that's very similar to the Gazelle. So I think this horse has the potential to run a very huge race with a really nice trainer who's on fire in 2018, and Rod Ortiz in the iron. So this horse could be a little sneaky at 4-1.
Number 3 is Coach Rocks, Dale Romans, Luis Saez, and our good friend Roddy Valeni. And he's shipping her right back. He's off of 2 weeks. She raced last time in the Kentucky Oaks, finished 7th. I didn't think it was that bad of a performance. I like to see the aggressive approach. Dale Romans has done this with a couple of horses, taking his Oaks horses and bringing them back to the Black Eyed Susan, and he's had good success with it. Obviously, we're going to root for her because of the local connections, and such a good friend here at Capital OTB. 7-2, I think, is fair. She's the class of the field. If she goes back and runs to that victory in the Gulfstream Park Oaks, that Grade 2 event, I thought that was a very solid performance, makes her a serious contender. And the fact that she's versatile, she's able to sit off the pace, or she's able to make her own pace if she needs to, kind of gives her that extra element to get the job done.
Yeah, and I think at 7-2, how can you not play Coach Rocks here as a win candidate? And she definitely is the class of the field, as you said, and I think she's going to try to revert back to how she ran in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. That was a phenomenal move by Luis Saez, and as you said, Dale Romans, he does do this a lot. He brings these horses back, and he thinks there's more in the tank, especially how this horse is working going into the Oaks. I think there's definitely more in the tank for this horse. You're getting a really nice price at 7-2 here. I think we'll be bet down a little bit, but still should get a solid price on Coach Rocks. There is a lot of speed, as you said earlier when we were previewing it. There is a lot of speed here, so maybe a stalking roll like the horse did in the GP Oaks. She could definitely make some noise. You're going to get
the only question where there is we're talking is she's never been over a wet surface.
That is.
So we're going to see on Friday if she's able to handle it. If she is, the way that it kind of sets up for her, she's going to be sitting about 4th or 5th, and the pace does seem to be pretty honest in here. If she's able to handle this wet surface, it could be all over. Coach Rocks could be kicking clear late. So we're going to be rooting for her, obviously, and rooting for Roddy Valenti and all the connections as they try to take down this Grade 2 event at Pimlico. On to number 4, Red Ruby, Kelly Gorder, Paco Lopez, 5-1 on the morning line. This is a lightly raced 3-year-old filly. Only 4 career starts, but 2 of them have been victories. 2 and 3 back, including that Martha Washington. Very impressive race. Got an 83 buyer. Was able to grind down and beat Sassy Sienna in that race. I like that performance. Last time out, did face the likes of Cosmic Burst and Amy's Challenge. Finished 4th, only beaten 5 lengths. I didn't think that was that bad of a performance. Off of a little bit of a freshening, I like the work on May 12th. She's a serious player at 5-1.
Yeah, you're getting a really nice price here, and I like Paco Lopez in the irons as well. And as you said, I think just needs to revert back to how the horse ran 2 starts back. Didn't think the horse ran bad either last time in the Honeybee. Took a lot of money that day after the performance. We saw 2 starts back in the slop, so this horse doesn't mind the wet surface either. I think the distance is perfect for this horse. Very interesting at 5-1. I have right in the mix.
Number 5 is a long shot Marab, 30-1 on the morning line. Grand Motion and Julian Toledo. Last time out was very impressive, winning that one other than optional claimer, going clear by 8 lengths. Got a 64 buyer. Again, it's tough to kind of gauge those performances when you go clear by 8 lengths. And only getting a 64 buyer, that pretty much tells me this horse really beat nothing. If you go back to the races where this horse raced in Great Stakes Company, finished 9th, beating 27, 2 Coach Rocks in that Gulfstream Park Oaks. I don't know. I kind of got mixed feelings on here. She's really going to need to sprout some wings to be a player in here.
I agree. I think she's just a little bit over her head here. And she, the one thing that you can kind of hang your hat on, I didn't think ran terrible at all in the $100,000 race at Tampa Bay, 3 starts back. To me, you know, this horse definitely wants to come off the pace. I'd rather take Coach Rocks or some of these others in this race, horses that want to come off the pace. I agree. I think a lot needs to go right for this horse to even run in the money.
The number 6, CS in Charge, Dale Romans, another Dale Romans trainee in here, Julian LaPeroux. Last time we saw this horse was off of a little bit of a freshening, raced in the Grade 1 Ashland. Showed some speed that day, but was no match for Montemori Girl that day. Finished 6th, beating 21.5. This horse goes back and runs that Tampa Bay performance 2 back, getting a 69 buyer, was able to sit just off of the pace, grind its way to victory, did beat the 5 who we just talked about, who's a long shot in here. I don't know, another one that looks to be forwardly placed and is going to have to deal with the likes of Good One Honey, who we'll touch upon right after this horse. I'm just not sure if this horse is going to be able to handle the distance and the fact that there's so much speed in here.
There is a ton of speed in this race, and you know, for other speed horses, I would definitely look the other way. I agree with you here, but definitely a potential long shot to complete some supers, because if you're on the lead in the slop, sometimes the closing horses don't close properly. So maybe this horse can hang on for some superfectas at a nice price here with LaPeroux and a nice trainer in Dale Romans.
Number 7, Good One Honey, 5-1 on the morning line. The local horse coming out of the prep last time at Laurel Park, stretching out to 2 turns last time, was very impressive. Won that race by 7 lengths, got a nice 86 buyer. The horse is 2 for 2 lifetime. It's pretty much going to play catch me if you can. Going to go for the lead. There does seem to be a couple horses in here. They're going to try to press the pace as well. We'll also talk about the number 9, Sarah Street, who looks to be forwardly placed in here too. Again, just off the dynamics, this horse, you have to respect the local connections in here, that they've been prepping for this the entire time. But race dynamics wise, I think there's some things up against it for the number 7, Good One Honey, and that's why I couldn't put in my mix.
Yeah, I could see why you wouldn't put in the mix, but you know, you got to respect the local connections, as you said, and did look really impressive stretching out for the first time. I have underneath in my mix. I think you're going to get a nice price. Definitely going to play catch me if you can, which can be dangerous in the slop. Some horses don't catch the horses playing catch me if you can in the slop. So I think it just all depends on the weather for this horse for me. But if it's a speed duel, this horse definitely does not want to be in a speed duel with Sarah Street.
Number 8, Indy Union, Jeremiah Englehart. Jose Ortiz is going to climb aboard. 10-1 on the morning line. This horse is a little interesting. Did finish 2nd last time to Good One Honey, the horse we just touched upon, who won that race, that local prep at Laurel. Again, Indy Union finished 2nd, beaten 7 lengths, but was closing 16 lengths back. You like to see that. They're stretching out another 16th on Friday, so you're going to like the fact that this horse is stretching out a little bit. you have to figure that the closing kick of this horse is going to be able to go even farther in here. And if this horse is able to revert back to that maiden special weight victory, I thought that was a decent performance. Probably a clever horse to use in your exotics at 10-1.
Yeah, definitely when you get Jose Ortiz back in the irons after the horse already won very impressively with Jose Ortiz at Belmont breaking the maiden. I thought that was a little bit of a stretch facing Warner Godot 2 starts back after breaking the maiden at Aqueduct, but we saw what Warner Godot was capable of doing just last week in the Oaks. So, again, to me, I'm personally looking somewhere else at a price here, but it is very interesting to get Jose Ortiz back in the irons for Jeremiah Englehart. He's still looking for his first graded stakes win on this year, but he's winning 23% of his route races, which is a really nice number.
Number 9, Sarah Street, Kieran McLaughlin, Godolphin Stables. Dylan Davis is going to be aboard. And if you're looking for the highest buyer figure person, she ran the highest buyer of anybody in this field, getting that 91 buyer last time out in the Grade 2 Gazelle. Just missing, finishing a half length behind My Miss Lily, who went on to run in the Kentucky Oaks. She didn't do much running that day. I still like this performance by Sarah Street. I like the fact that she was forwardly placed, was able to still grind it, and she's out of street sense. You know the fact is that this horse can be able to handle the 1.8 distance, was able to do so last time out. I think she's a player. I think she's going to sit just off of Good One Honey. If she's able to get first kick on the closer, she's going to be tough.
She definitely is going to be tough, and you know, I like Dylan Davis. We can't talk about how great he's been riding this year. He really has been riding spectacular in 2018. Even at the Belmont meet, he's been riding extremely well. So I like Sarah Street. I like that. If I had to pick one of the speed in this race, I would pick Sarah Street over Good One Honey. So I like Godolphin as well. I like Kieran McLaughlin. He's had a phenomenal 2018 in stakes races, winning 16% of his stakes. So definitely a player here. Definitely a scary price at 4-1 as well.
Number 10, Stakes on a Plane. 20-1 on the morning line going out for Sheldon Russell's going to be aboard. Last time out, finished 4th, beaten 7.5 to Good One Honey. It was sort of a blanket finish for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th that day, as we did touch upon Indy Union a little bit earlier on, finishing 2nd in that race. Didn't think that was an awful performance. This horse is able to go back to that sloppy service victory at Laurel, was able to come from off the pace, get the job done by a neck, and that one other than optional claimer. I think this horse is clever at 20-1. Likes the wet surface, is going to be sitting off of the pace. The pace looks to be very hot. And if you're looking for a long shot plan here, the number 10 at 20-1, Stakes on a Plane, is my long shot.
Yeah, I could see why you would take that horse as a long shot. The closing kick, I think, is going to be something that the horse will hit the board in possibly, and we've seen that a lot in this live, especially at Pimlico. These closers come in at some big prices, and even in the slab. So this horse, I thought last time looked great. 2-back looked great as well. I just think needs to make a move a little bit earlier than we have seen in the past. Horse could be right in the mix at a huge price.
All right, selection time here in the Grade 2 Black Eyed Susan.
It's a really nice field, and we just went over it, and you know, I might make some changes by the time I go to the bet window, but I put Coach Rocks on top. I think the speed in here, there's going to be a ton of it. She's going to have a perfect trip, I think. Also, I put Red Ruby underneath. I think this horse is really sneaky at 5-1 with Paco Lopez, another horse that has the running style of Coach Rocks. I put Good One Honey and Sarah Street underneath. My long shot in here is CS in Charge. Let's see if this horse can play a little Catch Me If You Can as well. Maybe hang on for a superfecta. Seems to like a wet surface as well. But yeah, I think Coach Rocks and Red Ruby is a solid exacta play as well, with Sarah Street mixed in for an exacta.
Yeah, I put Coach Rocks on tops too. I went 3, 4, 9, and 10 in here. We're on the Coach Rocks bandwagon. And it's not just because we're good friends with Roddy. Everybody always says that, you know, who are you going to choose in this race?
She just Coach fits Rocks. The race perfectly.
She fits the race quite well, and she's a serious racehorse. So for anybody who thinks that it's just because we're friends of Roddy Valenti and we want to see him, we do want that. But this horse is a serious racehorse. Looks to sit the ideal trip in here and may get the jump on the closers going into the top of the stretch. So we'll put Coach Rocks on top at 7-2. Underneath the 4, Red Ruby, who you have in the mix, and we kind of have the same top 2 in here. I think this horse is serious, lightly raced, only 4 career starts. If this horse is able to run back that 2-back race at Oaklawn, looks to be a really big player in here. And then the 9, Sarah Street, I have in the 3rd spot. I think she's done nothing wrong in 4 lifetime starts. Again, she's the one that can progress as well off that second place performance in that 91 buyer, which is best amongst the entire field. And then the 10 is a launch that I just talked about, Stakes on a Plane. I think this horse may be able to close into it at a big price. You can get the supers. Gets people who play the supers some good value at 20 to 1. All right, that's going to take us to our first break. We're through 2 of 5. When we come back, we'll take a look at Saturday's action on Preakness Day at Pimlico.
Not at the track and not near a computer? No problem. Wager with Capital OTB's Touchtone Wagering System and you'll never get shut out again. Capital OTB's Touchtone Wagering System is quick, simple to use, and guarantees your wagers are accurate and placed on time. For more information, visit CapitalOTB.com or call Capital OTB's customer service hotline at 800-292-BETS. Capital OTB's Touchtone Wagering System. Never get shut out again.
Welcome back to the Capital OTB Stakes Preview. As we take a look at Saturday's action now, we just reviewed Friday's card and we took a look at the Pimlico Special and also the Black Eyed Susan rooting on Coach Rocks on Friday. We'll take a look at Saturday's action now as there's a ton of stakes races. Again, some of them scheduled for the turf. Hopefully the weather stays clear. You'll be down there texting me. Let me know how the weather is. And we'll take a look right now at the card on Saturday, starting out with race number 7, the Grade 2 Dixie. A lot of notable names in here. They're going to go a mile and a 16th on the turf, hopefully, but we'll take a look at it. The number 1, Fire Away, a horse we've talked about numerous times here on our stakes preview, going out for Shug McGahee, Manny Franco, Phipps Stables. Winner 2 of the last 3, including last time out, which I thought was a very impressive race. Was able to come from off the pace and go clear very convincingly against 2 nice horses in Projected and Motown. The only blemish of the last 3 races was 2 back to World Approval, where this horse was able to close that day. Finished 3rd, only beaten 4.5. I just think off the recency, I like the workout on May 12th at Belmont, 47-4 over the turf course. I think this horse is coming in razor sharp. It's going to be my top choice in here at 6 to 1.
Yeah, I had the horse in the mix as well, and you're getting a really nice price. A lot of the attention is going to go to Frostmourne and to World Approval. So hopefully this is one of the races that stays on the grass because it really is a nice field. And Fire Away fits in nicely. Manny Franco, a very aggressive rider. You could see that in every ride he has. He's had a very nice 2018. Shug McGahee, he's winning 10% of his graded stakes as well. I agree. I think this horse can be very scary here. They've already raced for World Approval. You just can't be 12 lengths off of World Approval, or World Approval is going to do what World Approval does, which is wire fields.
Number 2, Unbridled Juan, going out for Jose Corrales. Edgar Prado is going to be aboard. 10 to 1 on this horse, who's been in the money almost every start of the career. 17 of 20 in the money. Is going to be a gelding for the first time and is off of a long layoff. So there's a lot of different angles for this horse. If you like a horse off of a long layoff, the workouts have been pretty decent. 10 to 1 is quite appealing. But the fact is the horse only has 4 victories in 20 lifetime starts. So the fact, the good is 17 for 20 in the money, but the horse has only won 4 times and hasn't won of recent. The last victory was back in 20 of 16. So while you can't use as a win candidate off the layoff, maybe a possibility for exotics?
Yeah, I would have liked to see the horse run one more time before this race, maybe a second off the layoff. That's just how I feel about this horse. That may be a play here in exotics here with a little bit of a closing kick. But if I had to pick a closer in this race, it'd definitely be Fire Away. That's just the direction I went. If this horse maybe had another race in between September and now, maybe I would think about this horse a little bit more higher up. But I like the first-time geldings. They definitely run some huge races, but I had to look a different way. Well, you're getting a nice price here. If you're a player on consistency, this is definitely your horse. As Mike said, is running the money 17 times in 20 starts.
Number 3 is Odonius, and just looking at the overall body of work for this horse, looks to be in here as one of those MTO type of horses. I know it's not scheduled as an MTO in here, but if the race gets washed off of the turf, looks to be one of the horses that's going to be running if it is washed off. Last time, did try the turf for the first time and got the job done in that 3-year optional claimer, but primarily all the races have been on dirt. So it's interesting to see. First time gelding, 20 to 1 on the morning line. No rider is named for this horse, which is why, to me, I think is probably going to be scratched out if they do run on the turf. But nonetheless, is going to get a serious acid test against what we consider some of the best horses on the turf, including World Approval and Fireaway and a bunch of others in here. I'm not sure if anybody would be able to state a case for the 3 being a huge player in here.
No, I agree. I think it's in here in case the race does get taken off the turf. The horse does run okay in the slop, 1-for-1 at the track as well. So that's why I agree. I think entered this race. Tried the turf for the first time earlier in the meet. Really did look okay, but definitely jumping up. This is a tough race to enter for your first stakes action on the grass.
Number 4 is Frostmore and Christophe Clement, Rod Ortiz Jr., 9-2 on the morning line. This horse was a winner, 2 back, and an optional claimer down at Gulfstream Park. Beating a couple nice horses, including Profiteer last time out. Did run a nice 101 buyer. Was 5th, only beating 2 1/4 to Heart that day in the Grade 1 Makers 46 mile. Thought that was a decent enough performance. No one was going to get the Heart that day. If you looked at the fractions, Heart kind of did what he always does and lulled him to sleep. Was able to kick clear right at the end. So again, off that career best 101 buyer, I think this horse is quite interesting. You got to like that work on a May 12th.
Yeah, the work on May 12th is phenomenal there. I like Rod Ortiz. I like Clement as well. Clement's a fantastic turf trainer, so I think this is a serious player in here. Race against Heart to Heart, as we said. Heart to Heart he stands by himself. He's a phenomenal turf horse, especially onto the lead. So I think this horse can really make some noise in here. I think fits in very nicely, and it has raced against some solid horses. Not even Heart to Heart, but lost with 3/4 of length to Yoshida. And we saw what Yoshida was capable of doing last time out. That was on Kentucky Derby Day. Very nice performance there. His race against Oscar Performance as well. Was the favorite against Secretary of War, so lost that race by half a length. So this horse has raced against some solid horses. The one thing that drew me to throw this horse on top, beat a horse that I really, really like, and beat the horse pretty heavily in Adonis Creed. Adonis Creed has raced at Gulfstream numerous times and has won some stakes races. So that's what drew me to this horse. This is my top selection.
Number 5, Dr. Mounty, Shug McGahee. And again, another one that kind of fits the same as the number 3 in here. 20-1 on the morning line. No rider named, and I think is going to be one of those horses that's going to stay in here if it gets wiped off of the turf. This horse has raced a couple times on the turf with a couple victories. So there's the possibility that even if it does stay on the turf, that a rider will be named. But I'm just not sure this horse is going to be in the race at 20-1. And looks to be a little bit over his head.
Yeah, I think just a touch below. I think this is a really nice. I think this horse can make some noise in some stakes races, but this is a tough stakes race to enter, the Grade 2 Dixie. So I think we had the right angle last time out in $100,000 stakes, maybe possibly a non-graded $200,000 stakes. So. Works have been okay for a closing horse, but I agree. I think just a touch below.
Number 6, Just Howard, coming off of a long layoff for Grand Motion. Jose Ortiz is named as the jockey. 12-1 on the morning line. This horse had a nice win streak going on back in mid-2017. Had won 4 straight. Looked super impressive. Beat Voodoo Song, who went on to win 4 races at Saratoga. So you had to like, how good Just Howard was going into the fall. And then really kind of tailed off at the end. To me, I just thought it was a sign of a tired horse. Had run a huge 2017 campaign and kind of tailed off at the end. Off of the layoff, the works look to be pretty sharp for Grand Motion. This horse likes to sit just off of the speed. I think is a serious player at 12-1.
Yeah, I have this horse right in my mix. You're getting a really nice price. So Jose Ortiz, you can't say enough about him, especially on the turf. He's phenomenal. So I like Grand Motion as well. I agree. I just think that they just were really impressed how this horse looked beating Voodoo Song, and then they just entered in some races against some really nice horses. I think the layoff, this horse is going to be right back into the mix at a really nice 12-1 price.
Number 7 needs no introduction. That's World Approval. Mark Casse, Johnny V is going to be aboard 1-1 on the morning line, and we talked about this horse last time we saw him in the Grade 1 Fred Kilroy that was going out at Santa Anita, and I was kind of concerned going into that race. We watched the Tampa Bay Stakes down there, the Grade 3 event down at Tampa, when this horse reappeared in 2018 for his 6-year-old campaign. Thought that was a decent performance, beating Forge and Fire Away, but it really wasn't like eye-popping like we've seen from World Approval. Then last time out, he really just laid an egg and was odds on that day, finished 5th to a couple nice horses, though, in Boys Hero and Next Shares. Off of a little bit of a freshening, the workouts seem to be sharp. Both workouts have been at Churchill Downs. Is the defending champion of this race, you have to think that this horse is going to be able to bounce back.
I would think this horse is going to bounce back, and you like to see Johnny V back in the irons, and that's maybe one thing that is making this horse even money. But we've seen this horse in person. I've seen the horse in person twice at the Breeders' Cup, and then we saw the horse up at Woodbine as well. The horse is a monster, and definitely is deserving of this even money morning line on this horse. So horse is going to get to the lead. Let's see if anyone else pushes the fractions. Even if they do, I think it needs to be as quick as it was last time out. The horse really didn't get to the lead, did not run its ideal race. So if someone beats this horse to the lead, maybe makes World Approval a little uncomfortable.
Number 8 is Divisadero, going out for Kelly Rubley and 5-1 on the morning line. This horse is coming off of a long layoff as well. Hasn't been seen since October of 2017. Is going to go first time out for Kelly Rubley, who's had this horse in the barn for quite some time now. You have to like the workouts down at Fairhill. This horse was quite interesting back in the earlier part of 2017. I put together some really nice wins, including that Turf Classic at Churchill Downs against Beach Patrol, who went on to do some nice things in 2017 as well. I think this horse off the layoff is obviously the question mark. Does have enough class in here to make some noise, and that's where you're getting the 5-1 price. The workouts have been strong, which kind of tells you that this horse is ready to kind of come back around.
Yeah, and this horse is going to be flying late, so this is another reason I hope it's on the grass, because this horse is going to be coming late. Hopefully, I don't have the horse in my mix, so as a bettor, hopefully my horses get to the wire before they get caught. But I might be kicking myself, especially off a little bit of a layoff here, off a little bit of a trainer change, and as you said, the workouts really don't look like closing horses' workouts, so it can be pretty dangerous here from the outside to law.
What are your thoughts here in the Grade 2 Dixie?
I went Frostmorn on top. I think this horse is coming in razor sharp, racing against Heart to Heart, and we just saw what Yoshida did last time out, race huge against Yoshida. Second spot, I went with World Approval. If this horse runs anything like it did when we saw up at Woodbine or at the Breeders' Cup, it's going to be tough to beat World Approval. And then the third spot, I went with Just Howard. I think this is really interesting. Grand Motion, Jose Ortiz. This horse also does have a closing kick. So out of the two closers, I went with Just Howard. And you're getting a really nice price at 12-1. My long shot in here is Unbridled Juan, the 2-horse with Edgar Prado. We kind of touched upon it. We think the horse is just a little concerning here. A horse that loves to run into the money, so that's why I put in the long shot. And the first-time gelding is a little attractive.
Yeah, I think we're both on the same page with the fact that we're not completely sold on World Approval. I know he was so good back in 2017, but he really hasn't shown that pop that he had a year ago. So we'll see if he's able to get it done. As a short price, you have to kind of look elsewhere as far as value goes. I went with Fire Away, who I touched upon a little bit earlier on, a winner of 2 of the last 3, including a nice victory last time out, getting a nice 102 buyer, beat projected in Motown, and Motown was the Grade 1 Hollywood Derby winner back in November. So thought that was a very nice performance. There's going to be a Stone Cold closer in here. There does seem to be enough pace to attract Fire Away's closing kick. So we'll see if he's able to get the job done underneath World Approval. Wouldn't be shocked to see him get back into his winning ways. He's going to be sitting just off the pace under Johnny V, and at short odds, probably your most likely winner. And then number 4, Frostmorn, your top choice. I like this horse. I just wasn't completely sold, and I had to put in the 3rd spot off that last race, finishing 5th. I wasn't sure how good it really was yet, so we'll see how good Frostmorn is on Saturday. But you do have to like the fact that this horse has a victory over a yielding turf course, and it does seem to be a lot of rain on Saturday as well. Underneath, for my long shot play, Just Howard, the horse you have in your mix as well. I think this horse is quite intriguing off of a long layoff. Had put together a nice 4-race winning streak and then tailed off a little bit in 2017 off that layoff. I think this horse is going to be ready to go and is going to be my long shot play in here. So I went 1, 7, 4, and 6 in the 7th, the Grade 2 Dixie. All right, we'll take a look at the 12th now. It's the Sir Barton. It's a very nice race with 9 horses in here and a lot of horses. And pretty much there's a ton of stakes races that we could talk about. This race, to me, we're going to take a look at each and every one of these horses. Someone's going to appear in here, and I think it's going to be Axman. And not to give away who's going to be my top choice. There are going to be some horses that are going to show up Travers time. Who are going to show up in the Haskell. That are going to come out of this B team, what you classify as the B team here in the Sir Barton, who are kind of stretching out. Pony Up is another horse in here that we'll touch upon. We'll go in numeric order right now. But I think this race is going to be quite intriguing because as a lot of this Triple Crown Trail, these horses are going to tail off. I think these horses from the Sir Barton are going to appear and could make some noise later on here in 2018. We'll start out with number 1, though. That's Frostfire, a horse that's raced 4 times. It did finish second last time in a $100,000 stakes race at Laurel Park. Was a winner 2 and 3 back. Lightly raced, is going to get a serious acid test against the likes of some very nice horses who are already touched upon in Pony Up, Axeman. You're also going to see the likes of California Knight, who's done some nice things on the Naira circuit. At 15 to 1 with Luis Saez and John Service, I think this horse is quite interesting as far as an exotics player.
I agree. I think the exotic play is definitely not out of the question here, but for a win candidate, I think just a little bit over its head. Did run good last time out and looked great 2 and 3 starts back, especially breaking the maiden. So I think fits in nicely in these $100,000 races, but this is a really nice Sir Barton field. It's almost a great. It is a graded stakes company field with the contenders in here.
Number 2, Pony Up, going off for Todd Pletcher, Johnny V for Calumet Farms. 7-2 on the morning line. This horse finished 3rd last time, only beaten 2.5 in the Lexington to My Boy Jack, who went on and ran a creditable 5th in the Kentucky Derby. I didn't think that was a bad performance at all. Again, that was against Telekinesis that day. Was closing on him. There was a fast enough pace for this horse to make some noise that day. Got a nice 85 buyer. Again, overall body of work, you have to like, and if you're going to look at one race in here, go back to that 2-back race at Turfway. Ran mile and an eighth, finished second, only beaten a neck to Blended Citizen. Blended Citizen was a horse I chose last week and won as the upset victor in the Peter Pan at a little over $11 that day. I think that only flatters Pony Up and is a serious player in here at 72.
You're getting a really nice price for Pony Up, and one thing that attracted me to Pony Up is the race you just talked about at Turfway, but the Kitten's Joy at Gulfstream, the 2 turns on the grass, running against Flame Away and losing by a neck. I thought that was a really nice performance there. And his race against some solid horses, as you said, Telekinesis really didn't do any running the next time out, and obviously didn't like the slop on Kentucky Derby Day, but raced huge against My Boy Jack and was coming late. So I think this is a really serious player here at a really nice price.
Number 3 is a long shot, California Night, Might Maker. Ryder Ortiz Jr., 20 to 1 on the morning line. Winner of 2 of 4 lifetime starts, including the career debut at Aqueduct. Got a nice 75 buyer. Then was able to repeat that in one other than optional claimer. Last time was a little bit over his head in the Grade 2 Bluegrass against Good Magic and Flame Away that day. Finished 10th, didn't do much running. Again, off that race, you have to consider the fact that the horse is going to show some speed in here. There are going to be a couple others in here. Again, just race dynamics-wise, with Axeman sitting just off of him, I couldn't use in my mix.
I agree. I didn't use in my mix. And, you know, with some other of these nice horses sitting right off the pace, I had the same idea here. Had to go somewhere else. These horses are probably going to run down this horse and make the horse a little bit uncomfortable. So I had to go in different directions, even though you're getting a really nice ride with Ryder Ortiz and Michael Maker's on fire in 2018.
Number 4 is Threes Over Deuces, 15 to 1 on the morning line. No rider named yet, but was second last time in a stakes at Charlestown, going 7 furlongs. Got a nice 81 buyer. If you're looking for a horse that's been in the money multiple times, has been in the money 5 of 8 times, including a couple of victories. Again, wasn't able to use in my mix because it really just didn't seem to be a complete overall body of work for me, and is stepping up against some serious racehorses in here.
Yeah, this horse really is. I think this horse is against it. It's a little bit of a hometown horse. Had a nice little stretch at Laurel Park, and I think does fit in nicely in some stakes company. But this, I think it's just over its head. Is 3 Over Deuces.
Number 5, Navy Commander, 20 to 1 on the morning line. Winner 2 and 3 back, very impressively at Parks, including that 2-back victory, getting a nice 76 buyer. Last time, did run in stakes company at Charlestown, going 7 furlongs. Finished 3rd, only beaten 2 lengths. Got a career best 80 buyer. This horse is trending up. As far as a long shot player in here, I couldn't see why this horse, sitting just off of the pace, couldn't kind of round out the supers at a big price.
Definitely can round out the supers, and dropping a couple pounds, which is definitely attractive. This horse has been a favorite or close to the favorite pretty much throughout the whole career, and this horse is really hit or miss for me, and I thought ran a huge race last time out. To me, I'm going to go in a different direction for some superfectas and long shots, but I could definitely see why some superfecta players would like to use this horse.
Number 6, Dream Baby Dream, Steve Asmussen, Ricardo Santana Jr., 8-1 on the morning line. This horse hasn't won since November of 2017. That was 6 starts ago, but has been running some pretty decent performances, including that 2-back race in the Sunland Derby. Was a clear second that day to Runaway Ghost. I thought that was a decent effort. Last time out, I'm going to toss out that race in the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. Finished a flat 7th. I think this horse can rebound off of that, and at 8-1 is, to me, is one of those exotic contenders in here. I'm not sure it's a win candidate because there's only 1 for 9 lifetime, but it has been in the money 6 of 9 starts.
That's the one thing you can take away. This horse definitely could run in the money here at a really nice price. Could be a little bit ignored on the odds board with a lot of the attention going to Pony Up and Axeman. So this horse is definitely going to be interesting on the odds board. And as you said, has run in the money 6 times in 9 starts. I agree. You got to throw out the Arkansas Derby. That race was just perfect ride by Magnum Moon there. And that was a really nice field as well with Salamini and Quip. So I didn't think ran bad at all in the Sunland Derby. Would have liked to see how Runaway Ghost did the next time out, scratching out of the Derby. But to me, with the closing speed, I could definitely see why some people would like at 8-1.
Number 7, Whirlin' and Curlin. Coolest name in the field,
Yeah.
but it looks to be a little bit over his head. 30-1 on the morning line. Last time out, finished 6th in a stakes race at Laurel Park. Again, has 2 victories, one being in a restricted stakes at Laurel, getting a nice 83 buyer. But again, amongst the tops in here, you really can't consider a win candidate at all.
Yeah, I don't see it as a win candidate. Did run against Diamond King, but finished 5th that day by 10. And then this horse just seems to keep running in these stakes races after that upset win they had at Laurel Park. To me, I agree. I just think the race dynamics are against this horse, especially. This horse seems to want to sprint. That's where the horse did have the most success sprinting. Maybe try one more time with the stretch out. That's why they're entering the horse here.
Number 8 is Axeman, Bob Baffert, Mike Smith, 8-5 on the morning line. I think this horse is going to have a huge coming out party on Saturday in this restricted stakes, in the Sir Barton, practically a graded stakes race in here. Was very impressive breaking the maiden first out, got a nice 97 buyer. This was the Bob Baffert horse before Justify broke his maiden that they were talking about. Then next time out, raced in the Grade 2 San Vicente, which was going 7 furlongs. That horse got absolutely blitzed by another horse, and they went suicidal fractions. They went 44-1 to the half, and really was just completely empty at the top of the stretch. Got gutted, as you would say it in layman's terms. And then last time out, reappeared off a little bit of a freshening, went 2 turns for the first time, and actually sat off of the pace. Go back, watch that race, and that one other than optional claimer. He was so impressive. Was geared down, won that race by 8.5. I think he's going to win this race and go on to probably the Travers and look to be targeted there. I think this is a serious contender to take on the big boys later on in 2018.
I agree. I think this horse is going to be tough to beat. And last 2-back, as you said, that was just suicidal. The horse wanted to get to the lead. That's what the horse was used to doing. And lost to Kentucky. And Kentucky came back last weekend and won for West Point pretty impressively. So, again, I think this horse is just going to be way too tough to beat. I am going to take a stand against, but might be kicking myself not putting the horse on top.
Number 9, Takedown, going out for Lacey Gaudette. Florence Roux is going to be aboard at 20-1 on the morning line. Blinker's going to go on for this horse. Victor, two starts ago on that one other than optional claimer down at Laurel Park. Thought that was a decent effort. Got a nice 72 buyer. It's been a model of consistency as far as steady buyers goes, but really can't touch the top of the horses in here. Maybe a horse to use in your supers, a horse that's going to be closing late and can kind of round out that super part.
Yeah, I think that the layoff could be okay here for superfecta purposes, and I like Florent Giroux up. He's going to put the horse in a good spot to be the most competitive it can. So I agree. I think just a touch below here is Takedown.
All right, on to number 10, Prince Lucky going out for Todd Pletcher. Javier Castellano 10-1 on the morning line. Last time out, putting a little bit of a dud in the Sunland Derby, was bet down to a little less than 5-1 that day against the likes of Runaway Ghost and Dream Baby Dream. I didn't think that was, again, the normal Prince Lucky that we see. If this horse is able to go back to the 3- and 4-back races, notably that one at Parks, where the horse got a nice 74 buyer, was sitting just off of the pace. First time gelding, a little bit interesting at 10-1.
I think it's interesting as well. Not many times you're going to get Javier and Todd Pletcher at 10-1. This horse is going to be coming late. This just seems like a race Javier is going to steal, especially if it's money out. First time gelding closer for Todd Pletcher. We saw Todd bring home a closer last weekend, and we always see him bring home closers at some nice prices. So this is definitely an interesting horse at 10-1.
Number 11, Title Ready, Steve Asmussen. Jose Ortiz is named 5-1 on the morning line, a winner 3-back in a nice one other than allowance race at Oaklawn Park. Got a nice 89 buyer. Notably, the race that you're going to want to look at is the 2 starts ago in the Rebel, the Grade 2 event. Showed speed that day. Ended up finishing 4th to Magnum Moon, Salamini, and Combatant that day. Thought that was a decent effort. Got a 90 buyer. Sits, for me, fits well in here. I couldn't use in my mix, but nonetheless looks to be a player with Jose Ortiz.
Yeah, it definitely is a player. I have the horse right in my mix. I think it's going to sit right off the pace. Jose's great at doing that. I think he's just going to let the speed be the speed and going to make a move on the far turn.
All right, selection time now in the Sir Barton.
In the Sir Barton, I went Pony Up on top. I'm going to try to beat Axeman. I have Pony Up on top. A horse that they were kind of pointing towards the Preakness here. This horse is at 7-2 for really nice connections. Velasquez, Pletcher, and Calumet Farms. In the second spot, I went with Title Ready, the 11. We just touched upon Jose Ortiz. This horse is going to make a move at the far turn and look, try to for potential upset from the outside stall, and then Axeman wouldn't surprise me at all. Going to be kicking myself. I have this horse too low in my mix, but this horse definitely is the real deal for Bob Baffert. Long shot in this race, I have Dream Baby Dream. Dream Baby Dream is that 6 horse we were talking about for Steve Asmussen, Ricardo Santana, that possibly could get lost on the odds board.
Yeah, I went 8-2-6. Again, I already alluded to it. I think this is going to be Axeman's coming out party. I think he's going to sit just off the speed like last time out. I don't think the mile and 16 should be a question mark at all, and I think he's going to go on to face the big boys later on in 2018 in the 3-year-old division and make his name known around the country. Underneath number 2, Pony Up, going out for Todd Pletcher, as we already talked about. I think this horse has run credible races in Grade 3 events in the last 2, including that race against Blended Citizen. Should only be flattered by his Peter Pan victory last week, so we'll use him in the second spot. And then number 6, Dream Baby Dream, Steve Asmussen, as we just talked about. 6 for 9 in the money. This horse doesn't like to win very often, but does like to hit the board, so maybe a horse that around 10 or 11-1 can get the tries home for some people. And then number 9, Takedown, is a long shot. 20-1 on the morning line. The local horse for Lacey Gaudet. One that's going to be closing. Has some decent buyers in here and the blinkers going on. May be able to bring this horse a little bit more forwardly placed as well. So I went 8, 2, 6, and 9 in the 12th. All right, that's going to lead us to our final break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the big one on Saturday. It's the Preakness.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Back through 4 of 5, up to the big one now. It's the Grade 1 Preakness on Saturday. Mile and 3/16, $1.5 million purse, 3-year-olds, Grade 1 event. And again, it's going to be all eyes on Justify, the Kentucky Derby winner, undefeated, 4 for 4 lifetime. He got the 7 post. We'll go in numerical order with number 1, Quip. 12-1 on the morning line. Florent Giroux is going to be aboard. Last time out, finished second, beaten 4 lengths to Magnum Moon in that Arkansas Derby. Again, didn't run in the Kentucky Derby. Ended up going a different route in here, and I think that's a good thing because a lot of those horses are kind of tired at this point from that sloppy and off-going. I think this horse is going to be forwardly placed, and that's the bad side of things because if you're forwardly placed and Justify has you targeted, that's not a good thing. So we'll see what Florent Giroux does in here, if he's able to kind of take him off the pace for the first time and kind of sit tracking Justify. I think that'd be a better move for him. But nonetheless, he's going to be one that's forwardly placed, going to have to deal with Justify early.
Yeah, that's just the one thing. Let's see if this horse can run at a fast fraction. Really has not ran in a fast fraction at the route distance. That's just the one concern here for me with Quip. Obviously, there's other speed here. and Justify. So if the fractions are quick again, I think Quip might be in some trouble. So we'll see how the front end pans out, but I couldn't use it in my top 3.
Number 2, Lone Sailor, Tom Amis, Red Ortiz Jr., 15-1 on the morning line. 2-back ran a nice second in the Louisiana Derby at 9-1 that day against Noble Indy. Again, that was a weird race that we've talked about where Noble Indy kind of looked like he was dead at the top of the stretch. He kind of was able to resurge up the rail. I wasn't sure what to make of that Louisiana Derby, and we touched upon that going into the Kentucky Derby. In the Derby, finished 8th for Lone Sailor. I didn't think that was that bad of a performance. I think everybody was just kind of plotting home that day. Got a little bit tired. Going to be sort of the same type of race conditions again, as the track does seem to be a little bit soggy. But pretty much if you're looking at it, it seems to be the serious closer in this spot.
Yeah, that's why I have the horse third in my mixed Lone Sailor. I like a Red Ortiz up as well. Horse could be making some noise, possibly grab second or third. So you're getting a really nice price with obviously all the attention going to Good Magic and Justify. So I think it's definitely not a bad play for some triples and supers.
Number 3, Sporting Chance, Dwayne Lucas, Luis Contreras is going to be aboard. 30-1 on the morning line. This horse finished 4th last time in the Pat Day Mile. Go back and watch that race, though, which checked really badly at the 5/8 pole and had to go 8 wide. I really thought that this horse could have finished much better than that 4th place finish. That was in the slop at Churchill on Kentucky Derby Day. Again, shipping here to Preakness, I like the fact that Dwayne's being aggressive. This horse was really good as a 2-year-old, winning the Grade 1 Hopeful up at Saratoga, and then really hasn't put it together as a 3-year-old. I think this horse has some progression left in him, and I have this horse at 30-1 in my second slot to kind of round out a decent exacta with Justify on top.
Yeah, I can see why you did that, and you're going to get a really nice price here on Sporting Chance. So obviously Dwayne Lucas knows what he's doing. He's one of the best ever, and you know that race last time in the Pat Day Mile, I had Sporting Chance there. That was just a really goofy race. Funny Duck winning a $50 horse, and so
all the top 3 were 20-1 or over in that race.
That was just a really crazy race. So I think if it runs like it did at the Bluegrass and even at Saratoga and the Hopeful, this horse is going to be really scary at 30-1.
Number 4 is Diamond King, going out for John Service, Javier Castellano. The local horse that's going to be running at 30-1, winner of the Federico Tessio, which is the prep for the Preakness. Thought that was a good performance, beat a nice horse in Holland Park. Got an 84 buyer, is really going to have to put it all together to be a serious contender in here. And the fact that this horse looks to be forwardly placed, again, you have to know, you really don't want to run with Justify early because he's just going to run you into submission around the half-mile pole, and then it's kind of lights out from there.
Right, and this horse raced against Gotta Go and Strike Power at Gulfstream Park, some really nice horses, and Gotta Go ran a couple weeks ago and ran okay, so that's what I'm basing this off of. Strike Power, as we know, pretty solid horse for Mark Henning, so it is attractive. You get Javier Castellano there, but you definitely don't want to speed duel with Quip and Justify.
Number 5, Good Magic. The only other horse that looks to be a serious contender in here to Justify was second in the Derby. I thought that was a really good performance. Set an ideal trip under Jose Ortiz that day. Kind of took a serious run at him around the far turn and then kind of flattened out late, looked to be really tired. I'd like to see Chad bring this horse back as far as just some serious contenders to go up against Justify, seeing as everybody kind of went their own ways and are kind of targeting the Belmont at this point. I've never been a big fan of him. I know he won the Bluegrass 2-back and got a nice 95 buyer against Flame Away, but Flame Away did all the dirty work that day. For me, I'm going to try to use some other horses besides Good Magic to kind of fill out the exacta.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And, Good Magic obviously is going to run its race, a really good race, and definitely have to use in your exotics and triples and superfecta plays. And, I just think it's going to run like he did in the Derby, and there's going to be other horses doing the dirty work against Justify, but you're not going to catch Justify like you did Flame Away in the Bluegrass. But, I think it's going to run like it did in the Derby, maybe be a little bit more forwardly placed, maybe try to be up closer to the speed. But there's a lot of speed in this race, so you definitely don't want to be too close to the speed. Definitely the likely second choice, but I agree. I'm going to try to beat in the exactas.
Number 6 is Tenfold, Steve Asmussen, Ricardo Santana Jr., 20-1 on the morning line. This horse was a winner 2-back in that optional claimer at Oaklawn Park on a nice 86 buyer. Beat a nice horse in Navistar, who's done some nice things down at Gulfstream Park, notably. Then raced in the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. Finished fifth, beating 4.5 to Magnum Moon. Didn't think that was a bad performance. They all were kind of plotting home for second and third, fourth, and fifth that day. For me, as a horse that's going to be sitting just off of the speed in here and could be targeting Justify, I wouldn't be shocked to see this horse kind of get into the mix at 20-1.
Yeah, you could definitely see that. If the other horses are tired with Justify on the lead, this horse maybe could play at home to complete some triples and supers. But at 20-1, I would like to play somewhere else. I think there's other long shots you could possibly use here. But definitely, if this horse runs like it did, like you said, did not run bad in the Arkansas Derby, but going against some better horses than it's used to seeing other than that Arkansas Derby.
Number 7, Justify, Bob Baffert, Mike Smith, 1-2 on the morning line. Heavy morning line favorite in here. 4-for-4 lifetime. Your Kentucky Derby winner was able to set some really honest fractions. They went really quick for that 1.25 mile distance in the Kentucky Derby. Was still able to hang on. Took the best shot from Good Magic and was still able to kind of kick clear. Thought Audible ran a nice race behind him as well. Again, 4-for-4 lifetime, has always shown that he's been what Bob Baffert considers and always says he's a superior horse. I don't know what that means, and you can kind of take it the way that it's said, but he's kind of like the LeBron James of horses. He's big, he's got a lot of speed, he's got a high cruising speed, and he really has no turnoff button at all. He's the serious contender in here, the most likely winner, and it looks like we'll be going to Belmont Stakes with the Triple Crown on the line if everything kind of holds serve.
Yeah, that's just what you hope for. You want to get through this light because the Belmont card is going to be stacked, and then if you have a Triple Crown on the line, that's going to be a great Saturday of racing. So you hope as a racing fan this horse gets through, and I think we'll get through. You can't say enough about this horse. So quick fractions, wouldn't be worried. Slow fractions, wouldn't be worried either. So this horse really is.
It's tough to find a flaw with him.
Yeah.
There's really no flaws. He can take on some horses kind of going after him, and he can sit just off of them. He's got a high cruising speed, like I said. You saw it at the Kentucky Derby. You could have said that he didn't like the slop. He likes the slop. He likes the fast track. He just seems to kind of check mark off every box that you want to question about him. At 1-2, he looks to be a serious horse in here. And I know a lot of handicappers are going to have Justify on top and kind of look for exotic plays to kind of use some long shots underneath. On to number 8, Bravazzo. Dwayne Lucas, 20-1 on the morning line. Luis Saez is going to be aboard. This horse is a little interesting. Ran a nice 6th place performance in the Kentucky Derby. Again, it's a 20-horse field, so 6th place doesn't sound great, but I thought it was a pretty decent performance. It was bumped at the start, had to go 4 or 5 wide. I know Dwayne Lucas is very high on this horse. He runs back to that Risen Star where he's able to upset at 21-1. I think this horse is a player to kind of fill out the exactas too at 20-1.
Yeah, I could see that as well, and the horse really does need to run back like it did in the Risen Star. Louisiana Derby was not a factor at all. It took a lot of money because of that Risen Star. And as you said, ran a 91 buyer in the Derby. Usually when you see that on paper, you would think the horse would finish better than 6, and that really was not a bad finish at all at 66-1. So, there is some value in this race underneath Justify. You just got to pick and choose. To me, I'm going to look a different way because this horse is going to try to run like the Risen Star, as we said, Mike, and you definitely don't want to speed duel Justify. That's why I'm going to look somewhere else for a long shot.
All right, selection time here in the Preakness.
Obviously, I'm going to go Justify on top. But underneath, I think Lone Sailor is just a little sneaky. Obviously, Good Magic I have underneath as well. But Lone Sailor to complete trifectas and possibly exactas, I think is not a bad play. I think they're going to let the speed go, and this horse has shown it can make up some ground. And we did see that in the Louisiana Derby. We did see that in a little bit in the Street Sense at Churchill Downs as well. So that's the direction I went. I think it's going to be tough to be Justify. I have Good Magic underneath. And I think Lone Sailor is a nice play at 15-1 underneath.
I went 7-3-5 in here. I'm going to try to get home like a $35 exacta. I think what it's going to kind of pay out. So I'll put maybe $20 exacta, $30 exacta, 7-3 straight. Maybe use Good Magic in there as well in case Good Sporting Chance runs third in this spot. But Justify looks to be the most likely winner. So if you're kind of betting the race, use Justify on top. Try to find some value underneath. Good Magic, wouldn't be shocked to see him run second. But I'm going to go with Sporting Chance as my key horse as far as long shots in here. I liked this race last time in the Pat Day Mile. I think he was That fourth place finish could have been much better if he wasn't checked at the 5/8 pole. Had to go really, really wide against some long shots that ran well that day. If he runs back to that bluegrass, I know he kind of ducked out sharply at the end of that race. But to me, I thought that was a decent enough effort against Good Magic. I think he's going to be sitting off the pace. The pace will be obviously honest with justifying this race, and a couple others kind of targeting him. And we'll see if this horse is able to kind of make me look good as far as the long shot plays go with Sporting Chance in the Preakness. So I went 7, 3, 5. And then also the 6 tenfold I have as my long shot play as well to see if he can't make some noise here in the Preakness and kind of round out second, third, or fourth here in the Preakness. So that's our look at Friday and Saturday's card on Preakness weekend. Again, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week to take a look at some more. Take care.